Hi everyone and welcome to the 4th class. So in the last class we discussed about the communicable diseases and how they are caused. So the diseases can be classified as two, which are the communicable and non-communicable diseases. So diseases can be classified as communicable or infectious diseases and non-communicable diseases. So what are communicable diseases? Diseases that can be spread from a sick person to another person. That is called communicable disease. So what are communicable diseases? Diseases that can be spread from a sick person to a healthy person. For example, typhoid, cholera, all these are communicable diseases. So now let's see how these diseases are transmitted. The mode of transmission of these diseases through infected food and water, through air, through insects. These are the different modes of transmission of communicable diseases. Which are they? It is transmitted through infected food and water, through air and through insects. So let's discuss them one by one. The first one is through infected food and water. So in the last class we discussed that there are some diseases that are caused due to contaminated food and water. Typhoid, cholera, all these are caused because of contaminated food and water. So how this is transmitted? It is through improperly stored food and water. So the food and water that are stored improperly contain bacteria. So one important thing that you need to remember is you should not have food or you should not drink juices from outside stalls, that is from roadside stalls, because these germs from the air, it often settle on the food items that are kept often and it can cause diseases. So improperly stored food and water can cause diseases. So we need to avoid having food from roadside stalls. The next is uncovered food. So the important thing is that we need to cover the food and water properly. These flies carry germs and these flies sit on the uncovered food and they transfer these germs and it makes the food contaminated and it can cause diseases. So we need to cover the food and water properly. It should be covered. The next is food kept in unclean places. So diseases can be caused when food is kept in unclean places. So one thing important is we need to keep our surroundings very clean and do not eat food which are kept in unclean places, because food that are made from unclean vessels and food that are in unclean places, that are served in unclean places, contain germs and it can cause different diseases. So we should not have food from unclean places because that place contains germs. The next one is stale food. So germs grow in overripe fruits and stale food. So we should not eat food from the outside vendors where they keep food open and where they touch their food with unclean hands, because that can cause diseases. Germs are transferred into the food and it causes diseases. The next is germs enter the body through feces. So another important thing is we need to wash our hands after going to the toilet, because germs can also enter into our body through feces. Then you have to wash your hands properly when you touch water or when you touch food, because the germs that are present in your hand can cause diseases when you touch the food and water with your dirty hands. So always remember, you have to wash your hands before touching food and water. The next is through air. So the diseases are spread through air. So there are communicable diseases like tuberculosis, measles. All these are spread through air. So how it is spread through air? So let me give you an example. When a person suffering from tuberculosis, when he coughs or sneeze, what happens? The germs that is present in the throat and the lungs are thrown out in the air. So these germs float in the air and it makes the air contaminated. So when another person breathes this air, what happens? The germs enters into the person's body and the person fall sick. So the diseases can be transmitted through air. So one important thing is that we need to cover our mouth when we cough or sneeze. The next mode of transmission is through insects. So there are different diseases like malaria which are caused by insects. So these garbage and dirt, it contains germs. So these house flies feed on these garbage and dirt. And these germs stick onto their feet. And then these flies will sit on the uncovered food and they transfer these germs and makes the food contaminated. So this is how diseases can be spread. So diseases like typhoid and cholera are spread by flies. Then the Anopheles mosquitoes. So these mosquitoes carry germs that cause malaria. So the disease malaria is caused by the Anopheles mosquitoes that carry germs. Then the Aedes mosquito. So it spread dengue. And this dengue can cause death if proper treatment is not taken. So do you know what are the symptoms of this dengue? It is fever with shivering, then body ache, rashes on the body, etc. Then mosquitoes also spread dangerous disease like chikungunya. So diseases can be spread through insects. So that is the malaria which is spread by the Anopheles mosquito, then dengue which is spread by Aedes mosquito, and chikungunya, that is also a dangerous disease that is spread by mosquitoes. Now let's see how can we prevent these viral diseases. What are the prevention steps that we can take in order to avoid these diseases, in order to avoid the diseases that are caused by insects? So the first thing is, do not allow water to stagnate in and around house. So that is very, very important. You should not let water to collect in your surroundings because these mosquitoes lay eggs in that. And soon it becomes harmful mosquitoes and it causes diseases. So one important thing is that do not allow water to collect in your surroundings. The second thing is use of fish in ponds, ornamental tanks and fountains. So ornamental tanks means the fish that are kept in home aquarium. So introduce fish in ponds, then ornamental tanks and fish aquarium. That is because the fish feed on mosquito larvae and do not let the mosquitoes to multiply. So that is the second prevention step that we can take. The next important thing is use bed net for sleeping if there are many mosquitoes. So we can use a bed net if there are many mosquitoes. The next thing is use mosquito repellent cream, oils and mats. So these can be used to keep away mosquitoes. So these are some of the preventive steps that we can take in order to avoid these diseases. Another important thing is that we can consult a doctor and take preventive medicines if malaria is common where we stay. So these are some of the preventive steps for viral diseases. So I hope the class was clear to you. In this class, we discussed about the modes of transmission of communicable diseases. And which are they? It is transmitted through infected food and water, through air and through insects. Then we discussed about the preventive steps that we can take in order to avoid these diseases. So I hope the class was clear to you. You can go through the textbook. So we'll meet in the next class. Till then, thank you.